When we walk into an electronics store to buy a new television, we like to think we're making a purely logical decision based on hardware and specifications. We weigh the rational metrics: OLED displays versus standard LED, pixel density, peak brightness, and whether the panel has a high enough refresh rate for gaming. We scrutinize the technology. But human behavior rarely sticks to the spec sheet. Consumers will routinely drop thousands of dollars on hardware for a completely illogical reason. They like the picture printed on the disposable cardboard box. Court documents from a recent lawsuit capture this behavior in the consumer's own words. One wrote, "I wasn't even planning on buying a TV, but I saw the box, so I decided to get it." Another stated they would buy the hardware purely because of the celebrity's face on it, citing their own obsession. The face driving that impulsive retail spending belongs to global pop star Dua Lipa. Samsung recognized that her cultural gravity could move units off the floor. They placed her image on their packaging, but failed to ask for her permission, offer her a contract, or pay her for the endorsement. Now she is suing them for $15 million. This case exposes what happens when a brand tries to weaponize the devotion of a fan base, only to trigger a high-stakes legal showdown over who actually owns a superstar's image. To understand how a cardboard box creates an 8-figure liability, we have to look at the rigid mechanics of intellectual property law. This is the right of publicity, or personality rights. It is the legal barrier preventing a corporation from taking a person's likeness and linking it to a product to imply an endorsement. You hold the right to control how your identity is used for commercial gain. While these rights vary globally, with the Netherlands enforcing strict portrait rights, corporations often navigate gray areas, trying to imply an endorsement without crossing the line. Right of publicity cases can be murky and highly debated in court, but Samsung made a secondary error that stripped away their plausible deniability. While identity rights protect a celebrity's brand, copyright protects the ownership of the file itself. This distinction turns a personality dispute into a clear-cut property violation. Samsung bypassed the standard, easily licensed press photos available through agencies. Instead, they used a specific picture taken backstage at the Austin City Limits Festival in 2024. The lawsuit alleges that Dua Lipa personally holds the copyright ownership to that exact photograph. They took a privately owned, copyrighted asset and printed it directly onto the physical packaging of a major retail product line. By lifting an image she outright owned, Samsung simplified the case against them, turning a debatable dispute into a documented instance of corporate theft. The stale of the defendant explains why a mistake this obvious occurred. Samsung is a multi-billion-dollar, multinational technology conglomerate. When Dua Lipa's team demanded they stop using her image, Samsung reportedly refused the request. According to the lawsuit, the company was entirely dismissive and callous. This is corporate calculus. For global entities, breaking intellectual property laws is often evaluated strictly as a financial risk assessment, rather than a legal or moral boundary. This chart shows why that calculus is so attractive. On the left is the $15 million penalty. On the right is a real-time revenue counter for a company of Samsung's size. A conglomerate at this level generates that exact amount of revenue in a matter of minutes. For most creators, this is a terrifying reality. If a company can effortlessly absorb millions in damages, the law ceases to be a deterrent and becomes a retroactive licensing fee, the cost of doing business. But that calculus relies on the victim lacking the resources to fight back. A megastar like Dua Lipa possesses the financial war chest and cultural influence to force a tech giant into court. Tech companies rely on the devotion of fandoms to move their hardware, but when they steal the assets that trigger that devotion, they finally collide with creators powerful enough to make sure the bill is paid.